long time no dating story time. Okay, admittedly, I didn't go on dates for like a pretty long time, but I remember that I did go on a couple of dates and I didn't vlog about them. I think it was just there's a lot going on at that time, and I was thinking about them the other day and I was like, that was actually kind of fucked up, so maybe I should talk about it. And I know my viewers love a good messy dating story time, so here we are. It's like 36 degrees in Tokyo, so you'll have to forgive me for being like almost naked, but it is hot even with the aircon on. It's really, really hot. I have to keep my aircon on like constantly, obviously, so my cats don't overheat. They're taking the heat pretty well though, like look. Yeah, so let's jump into it. Okay, so when I broke up with my ex, the start of this year, I went on like a few dates. Mostly because for me, I find that I stagnate very easily. So if I go through a period where I just stop dating when I'm single, I'll just stop for like ages and I'll just forget about the concept of dating. So I try to like force myself to go on dates, and I just feel like it helps me in some kind of way. If you see my other videos, you'll know like no one fucking hates dating more than I do, but at this time I was trying to like force myself at least, because I did want to at least find someone I liked, and the only way to do that, particularly in Tokyo, is to kind of like look, because on a day-to-day basis I speak to like almost no one that's not like my work or my friends, so the chance of me like finding a partner naturally in the wild is pretty low. So obviously and I feel like for most people who live in Tokyo, if you do want to look for a relationship, you have to use like dating apps or like go to meetups and stuff like that. The first person I went on a date with was like this Japanese guy who mostly lived in America, so he was more American than Japanese. And actually both of these dates were with American people. That's wild. After I remember my last video when I was like, I'm never going on a date with an American again. And all the comments were like, don't let that spoil you. Americans aren't really like this. And then I went on dates with 2 more American people and they were like that. So thanks for the advice, guys. So yeah, I met this Japanese American guy. He was a photographer, so I was like, even if we don't end up working out, then at least maybe I can work with him in the future, because we did start talking about photo shoots before actually going on a date. So it's kind of like, at least I might be able to get something out of this. So yeah, we set a time to meet up. I met him and he was wearing like sunglasses and like a cap, and he clearly was very sleepy and very shy, and I couldn't really tell what he looked like even because he was wearing sunglasses and like a hat. And yeah, I think he was really shy, but we met and I asked him what he wanted to do, and of course he didn't have any fucking idea what he wanted to do, despite us meeting at the station near his house, which is just like something that happens often, particularly in Tokyo. But when I'm dating, when I go on dates with like foreigners, I tend to hope that they're at least going to have some semblance of a plan in their head. Like, I think it's only polite. So yeah, he didn't know what to do, so I suggested a few places and we ended up going and just like looking around. He said he wanted to drink. I'm like, it's like early afternoon, but sure, whatever. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna need a drink on this date, and I don't normally drink, so I'm like, okay, whatever, we can get a drink. We started chatting about him being a photographer, and like as usual, I'm like, what kind of photography do you do? And he's like, oh, it's hard to explain, like it's a little bit unique. I'm like, okay. And then he showed me a picture and it was just like sexy women in bikinis next to cars and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is about what I had imagined. I meet a lot of like Western photographers in Japan, and they always like, yeah, my style's super unique, but then it's just like sexy women, cars, street photography, pictures of streets, or Mount Fuji. So like I know before I see the picture, like I knew what it was gonna be, so I was like, okay, whatever. But his style was kind of cool or whatever, so I'm like, okay, maybe we can have a photo shoot later on. But I noticed like from the moment we met to the moment the date finished, he just complained the whole time, complained about Japan. Like, he'd only been in Japan for like a month, I think, and he just complained about like having to speak Heigo and the work ethic and how everyone works too much, how everyone drinks too much, and blah 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 blah. And he complained about Japan a lot, and I hate it when people are like, "Well, go back to your own country then." But I did wonder, like, you seem like you like America way more. Like, why did you move back here? And he was like, "Oh, I just wanted a change or whatever." And I'm like, okay, but you've been here a month and it seems like you fucking hate it. So yeah, we went to like kind of like an izakaya place and sat down and we got some drinks and some food and we chatted, and it was kind of weird. Like, the whole time he talked about his ex-girlfriend and how like she cheated on him and like she did a lot of like weird stuff and like took all his money and stuff, and I was just like listening to that for a while. And he seemed like genuinely traumatized by this. And it was like an odd experience because he's still wearing like sunglasses and a cap, so I can't really exactly see what he looks like. But like he had like a cool style, like he dressed cool and he had like loads of cool accessories and stuff like that. But yeah, on this date I'm already like, yeah, I'm not vibing with this. Because like he was like really trauma dumping from the get-go, and I was trying to lighten the mood, like, oh, don't, like, never mind, like, you're in Tokyo now, like, you can do some fun stuff, you can travel, you can go to Tokyo Disneyland, blah blah blah. But then he just kept going back to talking about his ex-girlfriend, which was weird, and it seemed like they broke up like a year ago. So I'm like, oh god, not this again. Like, oh my, like, as someone who has been through 2 breakups in 2 years, I know that breakups suck and they can weigh heavily on you, and I think maybe I'm a little bit fucked up because I can move on pretty easily from things, but I just don't let it ruin your entire life, and like don't let it ruin your next relationships. Like, whatever happened in your last relationship, I think it's important to let the new person know, but maybe not like immediately. And also, like, you have to try and get over those things. And I tell everyone that wants to date me, if you have like some weird feelings for your ex, or if it's like that you're still fighting or not over, don't even bother. Like, I don't want to start something new until you're over the last thing. And I am the same. Like, I wouldn't go into a relationship if I'm still like bound to someone else. I just think that's really disrespectful and really rude. So I was kind of getting pissed off on this date, because again, like, I thought if anything it would be like at least fun, but I'm just listening to someone like, I started getting depressed as well. And like, he said that he moved here to be a photographer, but he wasn't making much money, and that he was living with his grandpa, and luckily he didn't have to pay rent and all this stuff. And I don't know, it just made me kind of pissed off. I was like, so you literally just arrived, he didn't mention that before, you have no money at all, and you don't know what you're doing in the future. Like, why are you going on dates with people like now? Like, when, you know, like, I think it's fine when you're a little bit younger, but when you're like my age and you're like 30 odd, it's like you want stability. You don't want to go on these dates where people are like, they don't have anything to show for themselves, and they can't offer you anything. And I'm just like, why am I here? This day actually did go on Twitter, because after that I'm like, okay, I took us to one place, you take us to the next one. And he's like, oh, why don't we, he's like, you're British, why don't we go to the Hub? And the Hub is kind of like a meme for being a really fucking shit British pub, and particularly if you're a British woman and you go there, you just get like sexualized. I thought it was hilarious, and I laughed so hard. And I asked him, can I tweet about it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I showed him the tweet, and I tweeted it. And then we went to the Hub and we sat down and we ordered some drinks. That actually wasn't too bad. Like, as much as I shit on the Hub, it was pretty good. Like, you pay fares, there was like beef jerky and snacks, and there was like a little terrace. It was actually pretty good, actually. But then after a while, I got loads of replies to the tweet, and then I showed him and he started really freaking out. He was like, I didn't know you had so many followers. Oh my god, everyone's laughing at me. I'm like, nah, you're fine. It's like, no one knows who you are, you're good. Then after that, he was even like more down, I guess, and I really tried to be like positive and cheering him up. And he was like, honestly, I just haven't even held hands with a girl in like a year, and like blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, we can shake hands. And I shook his hand, and then yeah, he just kind of had like a meltdown. It was really, really strange. I felt really, really bad for him because it seemed like he was holding in like a lot of trauma. I didn't know any of this before we went on this date, and we talked a little bit more. But then it did get kind of weird. Like, not gonna lie, I was like, because he talked about like, he was like, I'm in my horny era, and I assumed it meant that he was going on a lot of dates because he's like quite an attractive guy, and he was like, oh no, like I haven't had sex in like a long time. And I said, well, you know, like, there are, like, places for that here. Like, you're Japanese and you speak Japanese, but it's fine. Like, why don't you just go to, like, I don't know, like, somewhere where you can have sex with someone for money. Not sex. Like, the actual penetrative sex is illegal, but, like, you can have other stuff here. Like, I don't see a problem with that if you're single. And he got really weird, and he was like, oh, how much is it? He was like, well, what if I like paid you instead? And I was like, are you legitimately trying to pay me for sex? And he kept like inadvertently trying to ask, and it was really, really awkward. I was like, well, thanks for the day, I'm gonna go now. And then I left, and that was it. And yeah, at that time it went by so fast. Like, we didn't hang out that long. We only hung out for like 2 hours, even though it felt like a fucking eternity. But yeah, it was just like a lot. Like, as I mentioned before, I wouldn't suggest going on dates with people if you haven't figured out your feelings and if you're not ready. Like, this guy was just not ready to go on a date, and quite frankly fucking wasted a whole evening of my life. Like, I could have just gone on a date with someone else who was ready. And like, whenever I'm in a relationship, I always pay half of everything, and I always pay my way and stuff like that. But I also don't want to enter in a relationship with someone who just has no money and nothing, like, at this age. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to struggle. Like, I don't want to pick fucking hard mode. I want someone that at least has as much as I do, and so we can build something. Like, I want to meet someone I can build something with. I don't want to just like struggle for another fucking 5 years. Well, maybe they sort themselves out, maybe they don't. So like, absolutely not. It's a no from me. He asked if I wanted to go on another date, and I just said no. And I feel bad because the guy just seemed like really, really sad about his past relationship, but honestly, not my circus, not my monkeys. Then on to date number 2. Okay, this one was, I don't know which of the, honestly, I don't know which of these is worse, so please tell me. Another American guy who's like a voice actor. So I wanted to meet him because I have done a little bit of voice acting before, and I'm very interested in that industry. So I'm like, cool, like, if nothing else, I can learn a little bit about voice acting. And he's like he makes quite a lot of money in this field, so I assume that he is good at his job and knows a lot of things. He wouldn't tell me about what characters he plays because he signed an NDA. But yeah, so we met up. He wanted to meet me again. I always go to these fucking I swear to God, never again. We met in Ikebukuro, and which is near where his hotel was, I guess. We met up, and like, again, like, I wasn't really taking this date too seriously because this guy was like a fucking tourist, but I just was just interested in him. He just seemed interesting. So yeah, we met up, and I need to start fucking asking what we're doing. This is on me, honestly. I asked him, what do you want to do? Do you have anything planned? And he said no. And the first thing I noticed about this guy is that he was really tall, like super, super tall, and quite loud, which immediately I'm like, so I'm like, well, where do you want to go? He's like, I want to eat chicken. I'm like, chicken? Okay, maybe torikizoku? Okay, we'll go there. So we went there. The guy doesn't speak or read any Japanese, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just, I showed him the menu because it's on like a tablet, and he's like, well, I can't read Japanese. I'm like, there's pictures, just look at the thing. And he's like, I don't know what any of these things are. And I'm like, okay. I was like, do you want me to just order us some food and you can just eat it? And he's like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, is there anything that you don't like? He's like, oh, go ahead. He's like, I'm paying, so order whatever you want. I'm like, babes, this is torikizoku. It's not going to be more than like 4,000 yen. Like, thanks, but also it's not gonna be expensive. So like I ordered quite a lot of food, again because he's like a tourist and he seemed like he didn't know shit. I thought he knew slightly more about Japan in general because he said he had been here like a whole bunch of times before. That's on me. I ordered a whole bunch of like chicken because torikizoku is like yakitori, like chicken on a stick, and I ordered so many different things. They all arrived. They arrived, and get this, he said he didn't like any of them and he didn't want any of them. He had a little bit of some chicken. He's like I'm actually a really fussy eater. And I'm like, fuck, what are we gonna do with all this food? And he's like, oh well, like you can just leave it. I'm like, my big thing is I will not waste food. So I had to, during this day, I had to eat 2 persons worth of food, of like oily, greasy chicken, which was honestly delicious. Oh my god, it was so good. It was like also green pepper stuff with cheese and kimchi and stuff like that. It was great, but it was just a lot. And immediately I can't date anyone that doesn't like food or that is a really picky eater. This is just a really big thing for me because I really love food. I love going to restaurants. I love cooking for people. I can't date anyone that doesn't eat vegetables or anything that looks or smells too strong. I've dated people like that in the past. It just wasn't fun for me, and it's just not how it's not like how I envision my life in the future. So yeah, I'm already like, no. But anyways, I just asked this guy like a bunch of questions about voice acting, and we talked about it quite a lot, and he told me the process and stuff, and I think I actually got like quite a lot of valuable information. He was fine, but I remember like he had some like weird political opinions about stuff like all these American guys do, so I kind of like tried to just drift the conversation away from that. Like I don't even care anymore. I'm forced to listen to men's bad opinions on politics every day against my will. I don't want to hear about it now. And they always, it's like the other date I went on with the American guy, like something everyone should have a gun, or I don't know, honestly don't even care. So yeah, I'm like, cool, at least I can learn a lot about voice acting. He kept calling me green eyes and going on about how beautiful my eyes were, which was nice but also a little bit weird. I don't know. I didn't get any kind of romantic vibe from this. It was very awkward. And the whole date, basically he just talked while I ate a lot of chicken. And then yeah, that was it. Then we walked to the station and said goodbye. And then I think he also asked if I wanted to hang out again, and I was like, maybe. And then that was it. And then we mailed a little bit on Instagram afterwards, and then that was it. I think I think we just unfollowed each other, and that was it. So let me know which one of those dates was more miserable. Probably the first one, actually. The way I remember the first one, in my head didn't seem that bad, but retelling it, I forgot that he did ask, he tried to solicit me for sex, so that's probably the worst of the two now I think about it. The second one wasn't really his fault. It's probably just like a personality like thing. Also, like I can't date anyone that doesn't have at least basic knowledge of Japanese because I live in Japan, so that's also like a thing. But that was on me. I was just honestly just like dating people who I thought that could be interesting, and they were interesting. So yeah, that's where we are at now. I haven't gone on a date in quite a while actually. It's been great. It's been great. Again, like I touched on this earlier, but, and I think I mentioned this in every dating video, but dating in my 30s is so much different because all I'm looking for is like someone that I can share my life with, and for us to be comfortable and happy. So that's why I need someone that at least has like a semi-good work ethic, or someone who like isn't gonna be a total fuck up, or someone that is interesting, and someone that has a good temper and that is amenable to be around, because this is someone that you're going to be spending a lot of time with. And those are just like the basics. And the thing is like when you do bring up like money and jobs like that, I know that guys do tend to accuse you of being a gold digger, and it's not that. It's just like literally I don't want to end up destitute, so you're gonna have to get a job. And I've worked almost my, you know, my whole, I think I've literally worked since I was like 15, 16 maybe, so I do kind of expect the guy to be able to at least make half the rent. So yeah. But yeah, compared to some of my other dates, they weren't altogether terrible. And I feel like sometimes mediocrity is even somehow worse. So yeah, I didn't make that many life updates recently, but like a lot of things are happening, a lot of exciting things, so please look forward to some more updates in the next few weeks, months, yeah. Thank you for watching, and as always, please subscribe.